Hello everyone. Today's revision tip is about writing with care and crafting your writing. A lot of people find this a very difficult thing to revise. They say, well, how do you revise writing? And they fall into the big mistake of just writing things at the same grade over and over and over again. When you are revising, your strategy should be to improve your grade. So today I'm going to show you a very simple activity that will help you do that. This activity is applicable to English, creative writing or non-fiction writing, but it could also be used for writing essays in subjects like history, geography, psychology. All that you would do is that you would adapt the targets that I'm going to show you to that subject. So for example, it could be something like technical terms, or it could be something like key dates. Instead of writer's methods. You just take whatever your teacher has told you to do and adapt this method. But first, let's look at why we're doing it. When you proofread, you usually proofread for errors, but I'm going to show you two examples of pieces of work without any errors in that are very different in grade. And that is why proofreading for errors isn't enough, and actively writing and actively making yourself see methods is really important. So this is student A. And they've written the start of a story here. Come closer. It's all right now. I won't hurt you. The creatures locked eyes with each other and decided what to do next. The boy wanted to stroke the wolf. The animal was growling though. He didn't know if it was safe. The boy might hurt him. Suddenly there was a snapping noise from the forest. Someone else was coming. The noise got louder and closer. It had to be more than one. There's not actually anything wrong with this. Okay, it's all correct, it's punctuated, it's spelt correctly. But there is a general lack of ambitious vocabulary. The little bit of imagery here, locked eyes, the eyes didn't really lock together, it's a metaphor, but it's a cliche. There is a shift of focus, but it's kind of expected. Suddenly there was a snapping noise from the forest. It could have been more shocking. And the direct speech is done quite well. It's kind of giving this kind of cliffhanger moment with these little pauses. So I'd say that's quite strong. But there's no real wow factor, and you can pause this and watch and look down at this. But it got a level 2 mark. So remember that in the mark scheme, there are 4 layers of quality. 1 is the bottom and 4 is the top. And this one is coming in at between 25% and 50% of the possible grades. It's not quite even halfway there. But there's no mistakes. So proofreading purely to get rid of mistakes is not enough. When we look at a stronger example here, equally, there are no mistakes. There's no AO6 errors. Panting wildly, the wolf paused for just a moment, but leapt away, his back legs launching him into the air with each bound. He left blood on the snowy ground. The child followed, moving almost as swiftly despite the snowy ground and low branches. Sometimes he shuffled on all fours, but mostly he ran on tiptoes. Each spreading drop of scarlet in the snow seemed to make him speed up. He knew the wolf was in trouble. He knew he could help. So again, there aren't any mistakes here, but you're seeing a far greater concentration of high-quality language and methods within the same space of text. The last opening was strong, but this one's also strong, and it starts with a verb. It starts quite powerfully, and it's in a moment, it's in an exciting moment, it gets straight into the action. You've got words like panting instead of breathing, launching, so that's again, this sophisticated vocabulary, it doesn't have to be very, very long. Launching would count as sophisticated. It's not a very, very long word, it's just a very appropriate word. A little visual image that has some contrast in it. He left blood on the snowy ground, so you've got the red and the white. They're being quite subtle. They're not going as obvious as saying red and white, but it's blood on the snow. Yeah, it's contrast, it's juxtaposition. You've got the child, and they're not saying that the child is unusual because they're unafraid of wolves, but you can see because the child follows. As soon as we know the child follows, then we know that the child is unusual in some way. They're not afraid of wolves. You've got a lot of use of sibilants. Swiftly, snowy ground, sometimes shuffled, spreading drop of scarlet in the snow made him speed up. And that sibilance speeds up the pace of everything. Yeah, so in this bit they're running away from a hunter or something, and it's speeding up. He knew the wolf was in trouble. He knew he could help. You've got lots and lots of sentence variety, so longer flowing sentences for speed, and then he knew, repetition, he knew, short sentences. So there's just so many more methods and so much more thought given to vocabulary in the same length. Again, there are no mistakes. This is of writing of a level 3. Now, bearing in mind you're falling into kind of 4 different categories. A level 3 is really good. Okay, and here you go. This is AO5. This is the mark scheme. 4 is at the top. That goes up to 100%. 1 is at the bottom. And our 2 examples fell in these 2. And the one where there was a denser level of high quality vocabulary, a denser level of methods, deliberate crafting for effect, pushed this up here. So the second one would be here. The first one would be down here. Both writers had proofread for errors. There weren't glaring errors in either. But proofreading only for errors isn't enough. You need to look on your crafting. So I'm going to show you a quick method here. So imagine you look in your book. You've just looked at your last creative writing assessment, and your target you've got 2 targets here. Vary your sentence lengths and use more specific and powerful verbs. So your teacher has given you these 2 targets. This is a way where you can really focus in on them. You don't do this when you're doing timed writing. You do this with the aim to produce a paragraph. And you do it every 2 or 3 days, producing a paragraph on a different topic until you get it right. Your first thing you need is 2 different coloured pens. Okay, I am typing, so I am going to be using highlighter and font colour. Ideally, because you'll be handwriting in the exam, you'll use 2 different pens, and this is going to slow down your writing. You colour code what you are going to improve. In this case, I'm actually going to need 3, because I'm going to need to give a colour to this, varying sentence length, and a colour to this. So in this case, I'm going to highlight these red, and in this case, I'm going to put powerful and varied verbs in green. So let's say green. You would have a pen which you would use for this. So I'm writing this story about a child and a wolf chasing. So I start and I'm thinking, right, I'm going to write chasing the wolf. Then I pause, I straight away look at my targets. Can I green something? Yes, this is a verb. Chasing is not powerful and it's not specific enough. Okay, so I'm thinking to myself, it's a slow task. I could use a tool, like a thesaurus here, pursuing the wolf. So, pursuing the wolf. And then I'm going to think again. I'm going to say, racing time itself. The child, and I want to say feared, but I want a better word for feared. And I'm pausing here because I'm thinking, I don't want feared. I'm going to say trembled within his I want to say hard heart, I want to say stone heart, that's a bit of a cliche. Frozen heart is a bit of a cliche. His, I'm going to say wizened. Now wizened means like shriveled, right? So this kid's been like living a tough life. So his wizened heart, and again for trembled, there's my green, I've lost my green, sorry, there we go. his wizened heart shuddering back to life for the first time since he was abandoned. Yeah, and abandoned, I'm not going to, I think abandoned stands for what it stands for. So I look back at my sentence. Pursuing the wolf, racing time itself. Ellipsis. So there's the end of my cliffhanger sentence. Vary your sentence length. So yep, there's a vary. The child trembled within, his wizened heart shuddering back to life for the first time since he was abandoned. Now I'm thinking, well, I'm varying my sentence length. I'm varying my sentence openings. I've got pursuing. I've got the as an opening here of the longer one. And I want something short. I'm going to say what's come back to him. So what's come back to him is compassion. And I'm going to say a feeling he did not understand. And of course at this point I'm picking out my other pen because I don't want understand, it's too boring. I'm going to say comprehend. And then I'm going to make that green. And you see, if you were using your pen, this is a slow process. Compassion. One word sentence. Highlight it up. I haven't started any other sentences with A. And this is a kind of simple sentence. Okay. You can see here that just working through this short paragraph, I am using my pen as I go along to force myself to identify where I am improving on these targets. This isn't a method that you use when you're writing times, when you're doing a practice essay. It's something used alongside them rather than just hitting up these practice essays again and again and never getting any better. But it is a method that has worked for many of my students. As I say, keep it to one paragraph at a time on a task where a teacher has asked you to improve. Use different colours for each of your targets. Don't use more than 2 targets at a time or you'll just end up confused. If you find this confusing, use 1 target at a time and do it every 2 or 3 days, gradually building up, then do a practice essay once a week and you will improve. If you want to adapt this for other subjects, you might find that, say for example, you're writing an essay that needs technical language in it to hit certain grades for something like business, science, computer science. If that's that, you colour code every time you use technical language. Or if it's something like history or geography, every time you refer to a case study or every time you refer to evidence. Yeah, so you can use this for other subjects. And what it does is it forces you to stop and visualize what is going on. Where are you including it? Are you including it now? It is the step beyond just checking for errors. I hope this is useful because people always ask me how do I revise writing. If you have any other requests, please do ask and good luck with your revision.